Every Wednesday at this time, we bring on attorney Franz Borghardt for a little segment we call Legally Served. And though it might be the day before Thanksgiving Eve, as we'll start dubbing that, we bring him on anyway. I mean, never, no rest for the weary, Franz. Welcome back, sir.
No turkey waits for this segment.
No.
Or turkeys do wait for this segment.
Yeah.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. So, that being said, somebody sent you and I a message about a topic for this week.
Yeah.
And I'm embarrassed to admit, I don't know if I'm embarrassed to admit, I don't know a lot about this individual that we're about to talk about or his spouse.
Uh-huh.
I've watched one episode.
Okay.
Maybe two.
Okay.
So, but I'm feeling like they caponed him. Is that kind of the... I'm gonna let you do it, tee it up.
Reality TV stars Julie and Todd Chrisley were sentenced to prison in federal court Monday. The Chrisley Knows Best couple were found guilty in June of conspiracy to defraud banks out of more than $30 million in fraudulent loans. I'm getting this one from CNN, who had previously reported that part of the story. In addition, they were found guilty of several tax crimes, including attempting to defraud the Internal Revenue Service. Judge Eleanor L. Ross sentenced Todd Chrisley to 12 years in prison with 3 years of supervised release. His wife, Julie, was sentenced to 7 years in prison and 3 years of supervised release. Their accountant, Peter Tarantino, was sentenced to 3 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release. Ryan Buchanan, U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia, said during a press conference after the sentencing hearing. According to the Department of Justice, evidence in the case showed that the Chrisleys were able to obtain loans by submitting false bank statements, audit reports, and financial statements. The money was used to buy luxury cars, designer clothes, real estate, and travel. Then, while earning millions of dollars on their former reality show, the Chrisleys, along with their accountants, conspired to defraud the IRS and evade collection of delinquent taxes. Now, the show itself, I mean, it's been on, well, it was on. I don't know if it's still on. It had a brief run in the Haldane house. It was very compelling, guilt watch TV sort of thing, guilty pleasure TV sort of thing. Here's a very flamboyant dude.
They're both realtors, right?
Yeah, and never really explained how they accumulated as much wealth as they had.
Right.
Like, we're talking luxurious homes, expensive travel, kids that were total brats, and a drunk grandmother. The grandmother was really the glue of the show.
She held it all together.
As grandmothers often are. So the show started, I want to say, like in 2013, 2014, something like that. And I believe it's actually still on. I mean, now it's going to be tough to film with them going to jail, but I mean, the Judices did it, right?
Let me tell you something. To me, that is an opportunity for a show. I want to see a show with those jailbirds.
Chrisley Knows Jail?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm in here.
I mean, does he thrive in jail? Is he happy in jail?
Oh, that's a good question. Alondra.
There will be a new season coming out.
Okay, good to know.
So I don't know if it shows the jail part, but.
Well, it's probably already in the can, so no pun intended.
Is there any part of you that feels like the accountant getting the least amount of time kind of feels weird?
Okay.
Kind of feels a little weird?
That's actually one of the things I wanted to get to here is how are they staggering this to where he gets 12, she gets 7, and the accountant gets 3?
It smells like the accountant may have cooperated against his clients.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's a snitch, but he might be a snitch. And in the federal system, for the listeners, in the federal system, snitchery gets you less jail time.
Yes.
Cooperation gets you less jail time.
But if you're the accountant, I mean...
You're the mastermind, right?
Right. Absolutely. None of this went through without the accountant getting it done, right? On this level, this has to have gone through their accountant. And in order for if you are the accountant, first of all, terrible job negotiating if you are the snitch and you still got 3 years.
Yeah.
That's a poor job.
The goal is no jail time if you're snitching.
A poor job of looking at your own ledger.
But I mean, you gotta think though, $30 million.
Yeah,
that's a lot of bones.
No, it is.
That's not a small amount of money. That look, I'm not advocating for thievery. I'm not advocating for stealing from the government or stealing from loan or loan fraud.
Mm-hmm.
But $30 million just seems greedy. Like greedy.
Well, okay, so if you dive in on the show, you could see they found a way to spend it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of unbelievably nice things in this show that just leave you wondering How? Where can I go to get money like that? We're going to pick up the conversation about the legal end and talk about that staggering of sentencing and whatnot right after we take a break. We do need to check news. CBS News, local news. We will check traffic. We will check weather as well. Jason Wheat's going to have your forecast about 5 minutes from right now as we're looking at a wet Thanksgiving day. That's coming your way right now on Talk 107.3 FM.
Side topic.
First of all, love that guy's name is Peter Tarantino.
Yeah.
That is a jailbird name.
Side topic. Of the three of us, who would do the best in prison? Like, of the three of us, who would be the one that walks out on the other end? Like, maybe.
I'm mentally tough.
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to physically deal with it though.
Everybody always thinks that the defense attorney that goes to jail becomes the jailhouse lawyer. But I mean, if you're an inmate, why do you want to use the jailhouse lawyer that is a lawyer that went to jail?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't seem like it jives.
Yeah.
I'd be like Red from Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
You know, only not black, white.
You'd be the white one, not Morgan Freeman.
I just don't want to be a victim of the sisters in Shawshank. That's really yeah.
Hey, morning, Christy. Yeah, Christy is watching this morning.
Shout out to Christy. Christy helped me yesterday because I wanted to buy a book and I didn't know how the book purchasing worked in the back. And so I was like, hey,
The Advent book?
No. All the books that are on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you stuff the money in. And I said, do I just stuff it in? And she goes, no, you put it in an envelope. And I said, and she goes, well, that way you know like where the money is dedicated. I was like, oh, okay. And then she said honor system, and that was like the worst thing she could tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not.
Of course, stealing from a church. Ooh. So I think the consensus is that Alondra would be the one who does best in prison.
That's kind of weird.
I'm just completely overlooked in this conversation. Why am I completely overlooked in this conversation?
Oh.
I'm a relationship builder. I can get things done.
Haldane would be one of the sisters.
I get things done.
I'd like to tell you that Brian fought the good fight and that the sisters left him alone. Of the three of us, who is most likely the one that would who would try to escape from prison, like Andy Dufresne? Again, I think Alondra.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I would just accept it and just try to get through it.
So Keith, the tax evasion is one issue, but the loan fraud is the bigger. If you ask me, it's the bigger issue.
Well, I'm glad y'all think I would survive prison.
You're tough. You're out in the yard lifting weights.
In the yard?
That's what they call it.
It's true, they do call it the yard. I thought you meant I was in my yard lifting weights. Okay, let's get into Todd Chrisley, though. Dude is definitely a little,
Did they ever allude to that in the show? Because I watched 2 episodes and it was pretty apparent.
I think he addresses it.
Does he?
Yeah. Oh. And he's like,
I never paid close enough attention to it. I would always watch. Not that it matters.
Do you? But you don't have to live a lie anymore.
So the impression I got was that she was a beard for him.
Yeah.
That's the term the kids use, beard.
He's a little metro.
A little?
A little sassy.
A little sassy.
How many kids does he have? 2? 3?
No. 4. Because remember he's like an older kid from a previous.
So what happens to the kids?
The kids are old enough. They're on the son. What is there?
Married.
Yeah.
The son
Is in college.
is in college. One that's younger.
I don't even
Grayson.
Feel good about these guys going to jail, but the college admissions actress that went to jail, I was like,
Lori Loughlin?
yeah, I was like, is that necessary? Is that like
So,
Teaching her a lesson.
Martha Stewart going to jail? It was beautiful. Martha going to jail is the best thing that ever happened to Martha. Have you seen the YouTube or whatever video where Martha's wearing nothing but an apron, and she's talking about her coffee brand, and it's you've got to.
is that her or is that an SNL sketch?
No,
It's an SNL sketch.
no, I think it is a fun like social media thing, but like it is. She is gorgeous.
They did that in an SNL sketch. Anna Gasteyer played her.
Okay, well this is her
Okay.
wearing nothing but an apron.
Come on, Martha. You are 70-something years old.
She wore it. She wore it well. I'm not saying I have a thing for Martha Stewart, but
It's okay.
I do like older women. I do like. I would go on a date with Mulkey.
Yeah. This is not as revealing as you made it sound, Franz.
Whatever, dude.
Time to get a look at your forecast. Here is WBRZ meteorologist Jacelyn Wheat.
That's a lot of skin for Martha Stewart.
It's shoulders.
It's a lot of skin for Martha
It's
Stewart.
just shoulders.
Troy, definitely some of it has to be scripted. Like, you could tell that they're trying too hard.
So most reality shows are not
Yeah,
real.
scripted, but that one was like super scripted. But yeah, the grandma's funny.
So, no, let's back in. 637 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, 46 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Attorney Franz Borghardt in for Legally Served. Continuing now, talking about Chrisley knows best. Found guilty in June of conspiracy to defraud banks out of more than $30 million in fraudulent loans. Let's talk about the tiering here of the, we talked a little bit about the accountant, but the difference between the husband and wife getting 12 years versus 7 years. I got to wonder, why is there a separation in that? Because either you're in it together or one's guilty and the other's not.
It could be that the loan fraud had nothing to do with the accountant.
Okay.
That the accountant wasn't charged with the loan fraud. The tax evasion is a serious crime.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, I mean, again, what do we always call the tax evasion? That's caponing someone, right?
Right.
The tax evasion is the icing on the cake. The $30 million loan fraud.
Right.
That's what gets you in jail for a minute, a hot minute. And by the way, a couple of questions I got asked. Number one, federal prison is not a resort. If you remember Office Space, it is not a federal pound.
Yes, we remember Office Space.
It's a prison.
Right.
He'll do 85%-ish of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's doing 12 years, he'll do about 85% of it.
Okay.
He'll transition into a halfway house. That's right, I use the word transition. Into a halfway house on the back end of it. And that's it. They'll both do their jail time and they'll move on with life. And they're what, in their 40s?
Got to be 50s, huh? I'm assuming because they have a daughter who's married, a son who's in college, and then there's an older kid and a younger kid, as Alondra said. I didn't even realize there was an older kid beyond college. But I would assume 50s.
Okay.
I mean, they could still be in their 40s. I don't know. But the further questions I have about this are, number one is what you just answered. Why the separation in convictions?
If I were a betting man, it's either the nature of the crimes or accountant was cooperating. Look, none of these three want to go to prison.
No, yes, I realize that. But let's talk about the accountant, because we started to talk about the accountant heading into the last break. The accountant cooperating, what does that look like, and how often does that happen? We see it in TV all the time where, hey, I'll put in a good word with the DA and lower your sentence, blah, blah, blah.
So in the federal system, it happens often. that individuals will cooperate, debrief with the federal government prosecutors.
Yeah.
And if you do that and you give them information that is beneficial to their case, based on the level of your cooperation, the federal government, the prosecutors file a motion for you to basically get less time. Now, the judge gets to make a decision on whether or not they're going to grant that motion or not. But, I mean, come on. Like, if you cooperated and you helped the prosecution convict a whole bunch of people and save resources, because we're talking about leverage, right? Cooperation is about leverage.
Mm-hmm.
Then the prosecutor can look at you and say, look, you can go to trial if you want to. I got to cooperate and witness. And it gets cases resolved. So it happens all the time. Like, all the time.
Okay.
Snitches.
Yeah. Well, but it doesn't happen the way it happens on TV, though.
It's very structured.
Yeah.
It's very structured. It's very controlled. You go to the office of the U.S. Attorney's Office, or you may go to the DEA sub-office, or you may go to the FBI office. If your client is incarcerated, they get transported. You sit down and you talk to the government. You got to be truthful about it, though. You got to be truthful.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Can we talk for just a moment about the unbelievable amount of hubris to,
Plain sight.
Yeah. You're doing all this and putting yourself on television. That's the part of this that, and I know this isn't really a legal question, but that's the part of all of this I can't understand, is if you're doing all this or have done all this, why aren't you actively working to cover your tracks? Because you know you're front and center and live a very flamboyant lifestyle.
So people that steal large quantities of money, there's always the why, right? Why did you steal this? Is it because you have a gambling problem? Is it because you have a drug addiction? What is that money going towards?
Mm-hmm.
The easiest answer is generally, I stole all the money because I got stuff, nice stuff.
Right.
I paid cash for the nice stuff. But yeah, there is a certain ballsiness of just like in plain sight being like, yeah, look at me. Now, was the belief that they wanted to project that they were extremely successful real estate like barons or tycoons? Did they want to project that the show was getting them paid money? Because we know that the show paid them lots of money, right? You can live pretty well on a reality show.
Sure.
That's what I'm putting out for.
I guess. I mean,
Baton Rouge Justice, Franz Borg.
Is that what the court TV is setting up for? No. Okay.
I mean, it would be a great show, though.
Baton Rouge Justice?
Probably on one of those syndicated cable, like maybe WBRZ Plus.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
We can work towards that. We can definitely work towards that.
But generally, if it's like on Bravo or if it's on USA, these guys are getting paid good money.
Mm-hmm.
Real Housewives, they're getting paid good money.
There's another one where a couple has gone to jail as well. Is the Real Housewives of New Jersey, Teresa Giudice, or however you pronounce that last name.
That was ugly, too.
Yeah, it was ugly. And again, unbelievably over-the-top lifestyle, flaunted for America to see and consume and to guilt watch and to be jealous of. And
it begs the question on the reality TV shows when they do stuff, not them sitting in their house, not looking at their cars and their house and all that, but when they do stuff, are they paying for that? When they go eat dinner somewhere, are they paying for that, or is that orchestrated to a freebie?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But when you look at the car and you're like, man, that car costs six figures.
Yeah.
Or, hey, they're in this island resort somewhere. I mean, yeah, it does beg questions. And look, criminals are not always smart. Like arch criminals are not always smart. There's a reason I have a law practice and I have a job.
Yeah.
It's not always a and yeah, I think it is to a degree white collar criminals sometimes think I'm not doing anything wrong, or two, I'm not going to ever get caught.
Well, and the third part of that is they're constantly wanting more. Otherwise, why would?
Well, if
why
you
would
get away
have all
with stealing $100,000,
steal $200,000.
yeah,
And if you get away with stealing $30 million, put yourself on TV. I mean, that just, I don't know. Now, there's another part of this that we haven't gotten to yet, and that's that Todd Chrisley says in September, Todd revealed on his Chrisley Confessions podcast that he believed the truth would eventually prevail. Todd Chrisley says a former business partner is the one who did all this behind their backs, and then everything went south when he was fired in 2012 before the show went on the air in 2014. So is there still possibility that, and I know I'm setting this up for a one-word answer, but is there still possibility that
they went to trial, right?
Yeah.
They tried it. I'm assuming they presented all this evidence to the jury,
One would hope.
and the jury didn't buy it. So, I mean, is it possible? I mean, yeah, sure. Is it likely? No, he's doing 12 years. He's going to do 12. She's going to do what, 7?
Once this has run its course, it's run its course. Once the government in a federal case puts up their case, they leave very little room for something as simple as that to slide through on some kind of an appeal. But would there be an appeals process for that particular angle?
Yeah, they get to do appeals. They get to do post conviction relief stuff. Can they do a reality show from a federal prison? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, that's a reality show I would watch.
Mm-hmm.
I would have watched Edwin Edwards if he did a reality show on the back end.
Okay.
Did he do a reality show?
He did one after he got out. It wasn't while he was in.
Yeah.
Was it Oakdale? Where is that? Anyway, he did one on the back end once he was out.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, once he was out. All right, so Chrisleys go away. What happens with the $30 million?
They will start seizing assets if they haven't done so already. Federal forfeiture proceedings will start, where they'll start grabbing the stuff that they can show was the proceeds of criminal enterprise. They're going to owe restitution to the financial institutions and to the federal government. And they're going to have to pay that money back too. But the reality is they're never going to pay. Shy of winning a lottery ticket, they're never going to pay the $30 million back.
Quick break. Coming back. It's Legally Served. He's attorney Franz Borghardt. We do it every Wednesday. We got a break for your money now and a quick check of traffic. Coming back after this.
Okay, first of all, that guy that he tried to throw under the bus or whatever that he fired,
Yeah.
that guy came out and was like trying to say that he had an affair with Todd Chrisley.
Looking for love.
In all the wrong places.
I mean,
yeah, no, Edwin Edwards did that show with Trina. It was like Governor's Wives.
I love Trina.
yeah.
I love Trina.
Well, you're not old enough
Trina
for her.
loves Trina.
Trina loves
I am not old enough for I am not old enough for Trina, but that's okay.
Trina loves the.
Really,
geriatrics.
Trina's not old enough for me either. So, as we've talked about earlier.
Hey, what were you on Court TV about the other day?
Last night, I was on for, there was $1 million dude that killed a civil attorney that went to trial and got convicted. It's a lot of small things. There's a Casey Anthony-like case where a mom just got arrested in Georgia near Savannah for allegedly murdering her child. Her mother turned her in to the FBI, but before doing that, gave her a last meal at a Chinese buffet because she knew that she wouldn't have another meal again.
Debbie said, according to Bravo, they weren't allowed to film in prison. I know. I watch all this trash TV. I watch it too. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I love trash TV.
Okay, so maybe it'll be a made-for-TV movie or something, like Staircase. Like who would play Christy? Nathan Lane?
Todd
Chrisley?
Yeah, Chrisley.
I don't know.
What actor plays him?
I don't know.
What do you want to talk about when we come back? Because I think we've bled this one dry. I got nothing else on this one. I was hoping what you were on Court TV about was going to be have some meat.
Sorry.
The hate crime thing.
Mass shooting, hate crimes, the new norm.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can spend 10 minutes doing that. We can talk about Thanksgiving meats.
It won't be 10 minutes.
Turkey, turducken, ham.
It'll be like 5 minutes.
What's the red meat for Thanksgiving?
There's no red meat for that.
You don't do red meat?
No.
On Christmas, we do prime rib.
I love prime rib. Got to have the horseradish though. The horseradish sauce. Keith wants us to talk about turkey pardons. The Idaho murders. Is that the Galen? Is that the cult? The cult leader and his spouse. I did talk about that.
legal question about.
You can ask me the question of why these guys go into jail. Does that really serve a public interest? Like someone who does a violent crime, we understand them going to jail. Does the white collar person need to go to jail?
Yeah, let's do that, and then talk about Thanksgiving.
Turducken, turkey, duck, and chicken with stuffing. There was a octopus picture from social media.
Let's talk about. You want to talk about the Plaquemine police chief?
And what's going on with the Plaquemine police chief? Was that the one where he was sitting there and maybe made an offer to
You get your boyfriend out of jail if you give me a BJ.
quid pro quo?
Yeah.
Hello, Clarice.
I don't know. Is quid Latin for suck?
Blow pro quo.
Blow pro quo.
What is the appropriate way of fellatio?
On Eagle, it's fine on Eagle. It doesn't violate. It's not an FCC violation.
So it begs the question: how many? If he did in fact do that, how many times does that happen?
Yeah,
because that's the time he got caught.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the other people got off.
Hello. This was what I wanted to talk about when I was first thinking about this on Monday. I'm glad it popped back up because I had forgotten all about it.
Byron wants us to talk about why illegal aliens have rights under the Constitution. Byron, the long story made short is the Supreme Court former Supreme Court say that they do. Yeah. This Supreme Court may change that.
653 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. 46 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. This is Legally Served. We do it every Wednesday. Attorney Franz Borghardt in to talk about different headlines and how they apply from a legal perspective. Franz, I think we're done with the Chrisleys. I don't know that there's anything else we can ask that would be relevant right now. So I would like to bring it back home to a story that a story I actually wanted to talk about when I read about it on Monday. The Plaquemine police chief, per the Associated Press, a South Louisiana police chief facing 5 counts of malfeasance in office surrendered to authorities Tuesday, was later released after posting a $25,000 bond. Plaquemine police chief Kenny Payne was indicted on Monday by an Iberville Parish grand jury. Quote, the next step is we'll arraign him, we'll give him a motion date, then we'll hear his motions, and then we'll put him on the trial docket so he can have his day in court, said Tony Clayton. Now, most of the charges against Payne are related to Payne allegedly asking for sexual favors from a woman in exchange for having charges dropped against the woman's boyfriend. According to the indictment, it also says Payne ordered a lieutenant to delete text messages received from the alleged victim, and Payne also asked Iberville Parish Sheriff Brett Stassi to not conduct or to cease conducting an investigation of him. Okay, how hot is his water?
It's not a good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not the first time. So let's be clear. He's presumed innocent.
Of course.
People accuse law enforcement people of doing stuff all the time, like of this nature. That does happen. Funny thing is juries. I was watching a jury selection for a prostitute that was claiming sexual assault by John. And during jury selection, the jurors or the potential jurors were like, well, did she get paid? If she got paid, she has to consent. It was the strangest thing I've ever watched. Like, it was the strangest thing. Yeah. Like, that was their mindset. This was just 14 citizens in the box. But this, it raises questions. Did he suggest it? Did she suggest it?
Okay,
did he not follow through with it? Did the boyfriend get out?
Well, so the way the story went, and I've gotten a lot from some outside unnamed sources on this one. He wrote it down on a Post-it
Oh, that's
note.
right. He pushes it over.
Yeah. He writes it down on a Post-it note. The
so
term
creepy.
BJ was used.
So creepy.
And takes the Post-it note back afterwards, because why would you write it down and give it to her?
Did he burn it?
I don't think so. Then after that, she was just distraught. I mean, absolutely distraught. Now, as to whether or not the deal was completed,
Convicted.
right? That's a whole other story. But with no smoking gun evidence on this, does it come down to just a he said, she said?
Well, so the circumstantial evidence is going to matter, right? What did he delete? What did he delete? What is Sheriff Stassi going to say?
Mhm.
Now, the fact that he told someone to stop investigating him, that's the sheriff, I don't necessarily know it looks bad, but does that necessarily mean that he did anything?
Okay, so if I'm Payne and you're Stassi, and I come over and say, "God, this is nothing, dude. You're not going to find anything. You're wasting the taxpayers' dollars by barking."
I
up
don't
the
know
street."
that that's anything nefarious.
Right.
If he's like, yeah, dude, I got the BJ. It was the best one ever. You need to make sure. Come on, Stassi. You know
Right.
how it is.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be direct evidence of wrongdoing. And so the question becomes, what did he delete? What will he be? What were the text messages? What did he delete? And then what is Stassi going to testify to? The rest of it is, I never said that. He's going to say, I never said that. I never made that. Now, I'm surprised there hasn't been any other allegations by other victims.
So that's going to be the next question, because if I'm remembering this right, and I'm doing it off memory, but if I'm remembering this right, there were one or two other women who have said something at the time. Now, I could be misremembering, but when the story first broke, that sticks out in my head. Whether or not they've made official statements, official complaints, or whatever is another story. But even then, does it matter how many if there's no evidence in any of them?
Well, yeah, it does. If 1,000 women say this is what he did, you're calling 1,000 women liars.
Isn't that problematic?
Well, yeah.
You're innocent until proven guilty.
So generally, we have what's called other crimes evidence in cases where judges are reluctant to let the other crimes evidence in this case come in.
Mm-hmm.
There are some exceptions. Sexual assault, for example, is an exception. This is more of a malfeasance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the crimes are malfeasance and some kind of destructions of evidence, and then some kind of attempted sexual activity, an attempted sexual battery or attempted oral sexual battery. I haven't looked at the indictment, but I would imagine those are the charges on there. So, I mean, the serious charge, all of them are serious, but the serious charge are the sex crimes.
Right.
But
aren't they also the hardest to prove?
Yeah. So what happens to this guy? Does he go to jail? Does he get convicted and go to jail? Does he get probation?
I don't know.
If old boy in the Carolinas gets 12 years for stealing $30 million, what's the tab on?
We've only got a minute left, and that's where you wanted to go with this segment are we going to see less of a sentencing for an alleged sex crime versus sentencing for a financial crime, and how is that just?
So a chief or a law enforcement guy that breaks the law in this fashion, they have to make an example out of him. They have to, right?
Okay.
Because it's a public trust situation. So I don't know that even if he admits to doing what he did, I don't know that he just kind of, I hate to use the phrase, gets off. So yeah, it's going to be a long road for him.
He's attorney Franz Borghardt. We do it every week. Hey, Thanksgiving. Favorite Thanksgiving dish is what?
Oh, dude, broccoli cheese rice.
Broccoli cheese rice. Really?
Yeah, I'm a broccoli cheese rice guy.
Interesting. We do it every Wednesday. It's legally served. He'll be back. We'll be back at it next week. In the meanwhile, have yourself a great Thanksgiving, brother.